Well, Dave, you said at the weekend that the players would be able to have Monday off. You've had a full week without a game for the first time in a while. Has that helped to recharge the batteries going back into the league campaign?
Hopefully, time will tell. No, I think it came at a good time for us. Tuesday was an opportunity to go and watch a game, pretty relaxed and look at other results and I suppose sit by your phone and check things were going in our favour. But in terms of the players, like little breaks mentally come at good times and for us, I believe and hope and think that it come at a decent time for us. We're going to make sure we use that and make sure that is the case on Saturday.
And you mentioned Tuesday there, watching brief for you, with the rest of the top 8 all in action, only 2 of them winning and you're still 6 points clear at the top of the table. It wasn't a bad night, was it?
No, really good night. Not the nicest night out watching a game, I've got to be honest, but in terms of away from that, things couldn't have gone a great deal better. We could be really sort of picky and say, well, that could have been a draw instead of them winning or whatever else not, but I think in the main, from our side of things, it was a good night. It only becomes a good night for us, and I've said this to the players, around other people's fixtures and fixtures outside of our control. They only become good results if we take care of what we do. It's no good us looking for other teams to slip up. We've got to look after ourselves first and foremost, and if we get little bonuses along the way where a result that we maybe thought would go in one direction goes the other way, then that becomes a double whammy.
It sort of leads into my next question. I mean, after Borough and Wood's last 2 results in particular, it does mean that for the first time since you've come in that it actually is mathematically in your own hands now. Does that help at all, knowing that you really can just focus on yourselves now?
I think we're always going to focus on ourselves anyway. You can, like I say, you can flip things and look at things in lots of different ways. Just as much as it is in our hands, it's in Borough and Wood's hands exactly the same. Ultimately, the game against them could be a defining one. There's lots to happen between now and then, and after that, to dictate where the league table looks in the middle of May. We're just coming up to almost 2/3 of the way through, but there's a third left. It's a big chunk of games with an awful amount of points still left up for grabs. All we have to do, like I say, without sounding boring and repetitive, is worry about Saturday. And once Saturday's out of the way, we can worry about next Saturday, and keep running, I suppose, in that mindset. Football can change quickly in terms of injuries, suspensions, results, lots of variables. Like I say, don't get ahead of yourself, and I would love to say don't get too down when things don't go your way, but I'm not very good at that, so hopefully that isn't an occurrence that happens.
Going back to last weekend against Woking, and you were obviously a bit frustrated with how long it took for the team to get going that day, and when you look back at the last, I think, 7 games, it's only 1 goal scored in the first half of games. Is that something you're looking to address at all, or do you see it as just a coincidence?
Well, I'd love to address it. I think you got to. We won the game in the first 5 minutes at Dagenham. If only that was the case every week, it wouldn't be too different. I think what we've done is we've almost earned a little bit of respect in terms of how we've played. I'd love us to score early in games. I think the big thing for me though is the intent that we show early in games, and if that intent results in us getting the benefits in the last half an hour of games, then so be it. I think I want us to play with an intensity that if we don't get our rewards with goals early in the game, then physically at the end of the game we're still going strong while the teams are maybe struggling, having had to try and deal with and stop what we're doing. That was my biggest frustration around Saturday. I don't believe that it was an issue with system. I think our systems worked really well for us. I just think we were a little bit passive, and we need to be, as I said to the players, and I've said in the press afterwards, we need to be all in. We need to believe what we're doing. We're in a really good place, really good mindset, and should be full of confidence. We really have to embrace the situation we find ourselves in, because it's something that everyone would have wanted at the start of the season. We're now there at a good time, so enjoy and, like I say, thrive in the position that we're the ones being chased. People will always say, "Oh, is it best to be at that?" I'd love to be at the top all the way through the season, and as long as we're there at the end, then that'll when the difference matters.
There was a lot of confusion post-match on Saturday as well about Liam Hogan's red card, and it wasn't really cleared up by the footage afterwards either. Are you able to add any more about what happened?
No, I can probably reinforce what I said afterwards in the fact that I can't really give you concrete proof that anything went on. I think Hogan's is really unlucky. We've not appealed it as a club, and the only reason we haven't appealed it as a club is we know how things work, and unfortunately it's a system where you're guilty until proven innocent, and unless there is a significant, clear and obvious error been made, then things won't get overturned. So if Hogue should have been 15 yards away from the incident, then we could have claimed, quite rightly, that nothing went on. Because he's in and around it, there are no camera angles to say anything did happen, but that's not important. The important thing is there's no camera angles to say nothing happened. So it ultimately then becomes one person's word against another person's word, and the FA, the referee, are always going to back their officials. That's the case of it. So really harsh lesson. Fortunately for us, it's a lesson that can be learned in good circumstance, in the fact that we go on and get 3 points. But he's victim of, like I say, unfortunate circumstances where, in my opinion, doesn't deserve to be sent off. He will again suffer the brunt of that, if you like, which is disappointing. But what we can do is learn as a group. We've spoken to them all this week around. We're going to play on the edge. That's the markings of a good team. In fairness, I'm still of an opinion that we haven't stepped beyond that line, and it's important that we used that instance and that, I suppose, occurrence to make sure, as a little reminder, that it doesn't, because at the back end of the season, when there are high pressure environments, you have to keep your discipline, you have to stay focused and stay within the game, because over the long term you can't win games with 10 men. Thankfully Saturday we did. So like I say, we can take positives out of what wasn't a great situation at the weekend.
And the consequence of that, of course, is a free game ban for Hogues now. But I suppose the way you have to try and look at it is, it is an opportunity now for some of the other lads who've had to be patient to step up and try and stake a claim.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why you have a squad. We're in a position where we'll have to leave good players out of the 16. That's a real positive from a management staff perspective, but it's a negative in terms of a lot of the lads that aren't involved haven't done anything significantly wrong to not be involved. So one person's disappointment is another person's opportunity to come and sort of step in, and that'll be the case at the weekend, depending on how we decide to go.
It seems like a weekly topic of conversation at the minute, but Anthony Sarcevic, seen him back out training today, getting closer? Really
close. Again, I'd love to be able to say, oh yeah, he'll be starting on Saturday. That won't be the case. But he's now virtually ticking off the objective markers that we need him to tick off physically and medically in also to get him involved. So he'll be back on the grass again tomorrow. We'll do almost a return to train protocol session, which will be big distances and quite a bit of high speed, getting up to his top speed. He'll then be back with the group as normal from Monday. So fingers crossed, next weekend we have the option to select him, and he'll be, like I say, an important one for us to carry on the run we've been on with one of our best players out. Is testament to the strength of the squad. So it will be like I say, a big boost for everyone to have him back.
And finally on Weymouth, it's probably a much harder game than it might have been a few months ago. David Oldfield's obviously come in from Oxford City and had an impact. They've taken points off Borough Ward, Chesterfield, Bromley. What do you make of the work David's done there since going in? What has he changed?
Yeah, they're very different. I think it's changed quite a bit in terms of shape that they play, in terms of philosophy, in terms of how they've got to bar it. They've picked up some good results, and with that comes confidence. So they're in a situation where they're in a relegation battle. They're doing everything they can to stay up. So when you're backed into a corner, most people will come out fighting, and they're certainly doing that. As I say, we've got to focus on us and produced a better version of us than what we saw last Saturday. And if we can produce the best version of us, I think we've got enough to win the game. But we also know that if we're not at it, this league is synonymous for people upsetting the apple cart, if you like, and everybody will expect, as has been the case probably with our last few home games, that Stockport County roll up and turn teams over. That's not the case. Like I say, we've earned a bit of a reputation for ourselves, and not only what we're doing on the pitch, off the pitch. This is a big football club, and people like coming to Edgeley Park in front of 8,000 people, and I suppose spoiling parties or spoiling events. We've got to make sure on the pitch, first and foremost, we make them go away saying, wow, they're a decent team, and we do that through the intensity we work at, how hard we work, and hopefully our quality stands up. And if we can do that, hopefully we can get ourselves one step closer to where we want to be.
Dave, thanks for joining us and good luck at the weekend.
Cheers, thank you.